Logan Paul and KSI did some influencer boxing the other night, and look, I understand this is different to what I usually talk about, but given that it's an international break and I'd rather gouge my eyes out than having to watch more Gareth Southgate football, I thought I'd talk about this instead. Now, there was a bunch of different fights happening, but I only watched the two main events because they're the only people who I recognised, and I have more self-respect than watching influencer boxing for influencers I don't even know. I just think that'd be a bit silly. So the first fight was Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis. This was like the battle of the scammers. I think both these guys are pretty bad blokes, and in a ideal world, they both knock each other out and they're entered into sort of like an unending coma. But unfortunately, that didn't quite pan out. I thought Logan Paul made himself look like a right mug. The whole fight was just attack versus defence, without Danis' game plan was clearly just not to get knocked out. And despite the fact that Danis only threw about 12 punches in 6 rounds, Logan still somehow didn't get a stoppage. And that's actually like really embarrassing. The fact he didn't even get like a TKO is so bad for him. He's fighting someone who wasn't fighting back and still somehow it had to go to a decision. That would be like if you fought a pillow and it took you the distance. So I think that shows that he's no good at fighting, and any sort of half-decent fight would do him in. Let's talk a little bit about Dillon Danis. I thought he was the most entertaining part of the whole event. I mean, for a start, I'm actually shocked he showed up. It looked like every other day on his Twitter, he was trying to get the fight cancelled for, this and that. He's talking about how Logan's fiance is going to sue him. He's talking about how Logan's missing weight, then saying that Logan's on steroids and he's not doing drug testing, all this sort of stuff, which obviously was under the guise of like, I'm scared of getting killed by this man, so I'm going to try and get the fight cancelled. So fair play to him for actually showing up. And also, a bunch of people put it on like their Snapchat stories where he was on a night out in Manchester the night before the fight, which was pretty funny. I've got to give it to him. Like, clearly he didn't care at all. All he did was like troll Logan on the build-up, calling his missus a slag, and all this sort of stuff. Then when it came to actually fight, he spent the whole time with like a really tight guard, just going like this the whole time. Only threw like 5 punches, and then just sort of occasionally sort of lied on the floor, or just like some weird MMA takedown attempt. Then even at the end, he attempted to put Logan into like guillotine choke or something like that. Then the security guard runs into the ring trying to stop him. He clocks the security guard. It was beautiful. He probably took more shots at the security guard than he did at Logan, so that was quite impressive, really. And look, clearly he just took the money and then didn't train and just took the mick and sort of exposed, the absolute circus that is influencer boxing. And even just like proper boxing and companies like DAZN who tried to be taken seriously, who sort of tried to masquerade this absolute like slop as being like a real event, which all in all I thought was quite funny. And then moving on to the main event, or the co-main event I suppose, of KSI versus Tommy Fury. And look, despite his name, and for those of you who don't know, KSI stands for Knowledge, Strength and Integrity, and also the big knowledge tattoo he has across his chest, I don't think KSI's performance or reaction to the result displayed any sort of knowledge, as he just sort of swung his arms about wildly, sort of like a newborn baby who just discovered they could move their arms. I mean, the whole time he was sort of doing this weird like jumping jack thing, and then he'd go in for a clinch and then throw a really sloppy 1-2, and then sort of just repeat those 3 moves. It was quite peculiar. And the weird thing is, for someone who has such a bulbous skull, clearly he has a big brain, so he must possess some sort of knowledge, but he just didn't display it at all. Also, just on a side note, anyone who has a tattoo on their chest saying knowledge probably isn't actually that clever, because I think you lack the self-awareness to comprehend how that looked really stupid and exactly what a really dumb person would do to try to make people think they're clever, which was just quite funny. His performance also didn't display any sort of strength physically, as he failed to rock Tommy Fury at all, despite the fact he was just wildly swinging the whole time. And he also lacked mental strength, as he was crying about all the decisions, and even after the fight he's just kicking off. And additionally, he lacked all sorts of integrity, because all he was doing was complaining at the judges' decisions, just because things didn't go his way. And also, you have to consider the fact that the judges were employed to judge a card that KSI's company put on, and he still didn't get the decision, which sort of shows how poor his performance really was, because we all know how sort of, judges take favour sometimes in fights. Like I said, all he did was just throw really sloppy punches and then clinch, and then he was gassed after about 2 or 3 rounds. You know, it's all well and good to have these big muscles and the nice physique, but I thought KSI lacked all sorts of cardio fitness. I mean, he barely lasted 6 rounds. After 5 minutes, he looked totally gassed. He barely managed to last 5 minutes. That's what she said. But yeah, all around, I thought it was pretty embarrassing for someone who claims to be, you know, wanting to be viewed as a respected fighter. I'm not saying that Tommy was very good. I thought he was no good either. Just less bad than KSI. But also, I do feel like KSI takes the sort of the real victory, because the fact that a real boxer in Tommy Fury couldn't stop him is just quite sad for him. And also the fact that he's having to do these influencer fights show that clearly he isn't this real boxer he claims to be. Because if he was a proper good fighter, he'd be going for British championships. There's about 80 to win, so he'd go for one of them at least. And another thing about Tommy Fury, he walked out to Thriller by Michael Jackson and then delivered a performance which was anything but thrilling, which was quite disappointing. Look, I wouldn't say that he earned that win. I don't think anybody earned a win. And in an ideal world, they both would have lost because they were both terrible. Look, the only winner tonight were the people who didn't pay to watch it, and also the kid who had the light shining on him the whole time and was like shadowboxing. I thought he was quite fun. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say on this. Thanks for watching.